This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone, welcome to the world of web components again. In this session, we are going to discuss about how to use the service components in Lightning Web Components. Along with that, we are going to discuss how to bring the data from Salesforce, how to integrate with Salesforce and get the data into our local server. Currently, we are running in local hosts, right? So here the data which you are seeing is basically coming from Salesforce. This is not static data. This data is basically coming from Salesforce. And then if we have time, we will move on with LDS and other things, right? So initially, I would like to discuss about right service components, and then I would like to discuss about some JavaScript essentials, right? So when I say JavaScript essentials, some of the methods, right? Yesterday we discussed about, in the previous session we discussed about some of the methods like find, filter, map, right, reduce. These are the methods which we discussed, right? So I would like to implement that in within our project so that you guys will get more clear understanding about these things. Along with that, I also would like to discuss about the arrow functions, right? So if you get familiar with these things, so when you look into the projects, you will be able to comfortably able to develop your projects, right? So that's what the intent behind this class, to make you more familiarized with JavaScript stuff, right? When it comes to the arrow functions and the essential functions which are required. On top of it, you also need to learn other functions also, but these are the essential things which are required, right? So to do it, right, so I would like to take a simple piece of code which basically explain all these things so that you will have better understanding about this JavaScript stuff, right? So first thing which I would like to do is I would like to create one calc component. Let me create one calc folder, under this calc.html, calc.js, and calc.css, right? So these are the components available for us, right? So let me quickly create some UI for you. So this is to capture the first number. This is to capture the second number. And I need to show the result. I will say it is final number. So for the result, I will be storing that in one of the variable. So I can say it is final number, right? So I also need some buttons. So group of buttons for addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So for that, what I will do, I will quickly go into WC schools to get the group of buttons quickly. So I need to get some CSS, and that's why I'm going to WC schools. I wouldn't I don't want to waste the time. So let's take the simple things from here. This looks good. Let me take this piece of code, button group, add sub, our school. We have button group class here. I would like to go to CSS and apply this button group. And for every button, on click of every button, I would like to call a function. So we have 4 buttons. So along with this, I also would like to discuss about the find, filters. These are the array functions in JavaScript, which we are going to use it regularly in our projects. So method is find, filter, map, reduce. Let me give some breaks here. That's cool. I need this handler in JavaScript and also these things. Let me go to the handler quickly. JavaScript function. So I need some JavaScript stuff. Let me take this piece of code. So it should start with capital letters. Remember that. So what is that I have? Handler. So on click of on change of those things, which are these? Yeah, we are calling this handler. So I need to capture the event of it. For that reason, I will keep event over here, and then quickly event dot target name if name triple equal to. This is the equals to operator. We always need to use triple equal to instead of using double equal to. Double equal to still works, but it is recommended to use triple equal to as much as possible. That's cool. So now I need two things. These are the two variables to capture the data which is supplied into the input variables. For that reason, we are creating these two properties. These are private properties. So this dot fn equal to even dot target dot value this dot is n equal to the event dot target dot value. So, and also we have something like final number, right? So let me take this and declare it here, final number. Since these are the basic things, I'm not explaining these things. I would like to explain some other things on top of these things. That's why I'm moving ahead quite faster. Right, so I have the stuff. And now add sub multivision. Let me go with add sub first, and then we'll go with other things once they are working. So these are the methods, right? So I don't need any event here for them. I'm not going to take anything from the event. So now the final number, to calculate the final number, this dot final number equal to this dot fn plus this dot sn. So this is what we are trying to calculate. So now your final number contains this the calculation of these things, arithmetic operation of these things. So this is minus operator. So cool. Let me go ahead and check the output of it until now, and then we'll proceed further. So to check that, I need to put this calc in app.html. So let me comment out these things first, and then I will just put that calc stuff. So what is the name of it? It is calc, right? So my is the folder name. I need to make sure that name is exactly same. So we'll see if we get some output here. Yeah, we got some output. First number and second number. So let me put some breaks. Guys, there is a purpose behind this code. I will slowly get into that actual purpose, right? Firstly, I would like to check things which are working or not. So I have 100, some number I'm providing it, and let me click on add. So it is showing 100 plus 100 and 100, because basically whatever you enter into the input stuff, those things are converted into the string, right? So to get the accurate output of it, so what I need to do is, so I need to convert them into the integer. For that reason, what I will do, parts int. So this is how you convert the string into integer. That's cool. Even though it will show the warning message, let's not worry about it. Okay, and we got accurate output, so 1000, fine, and subtraction it should work. So logic applies to other things as well, right? So now I would like to bring the service component. So actual task starts from here. So instead of doing business logic into this piece of code, just like your helper methods in your lightning components, right? In aura component bundle, you have helper methods where you will route your code right to the helper method. So just like that, instead of doing right all the business logic within my JS, what I can do is I can create my service component. So within that service component, I can write my business logic and just call those service components and show the output. So that is what I would like to do now. So for that reason, what I will do, I have already calci.js, right? So under the same folder, so I will create one more file with math.js. So this is my service component, right? So within the service component, we are going to write our business logic. Maybe it can be simple business logic, but it helps you to understand how to use them, right? So right, for addition and subtraction, I will create some functions here. First thing is I need to export them, export default, right? And then I need to create, right? So maybe this default works for the classes. For now, I will skip it. This is simple enough. Um, export let, so add is what I have, equal to function x comma y, which you can supply from there, return x plus y. So this is for addition. That's great. So this is for addition, right? Same thing you can still apply to sub. Same thing you can apply it to other things also. Division, whatever. So these things still works. These things will still work. I'm using add is a function name now, and it takes two input parameters, and then so it calculates it and return back to the place where you are calling it. So to use this math.js, which is under the same folder, right? Math.js is under the same folder, which is calci. So to use that, so what I need to do is I just need to import it, right? Math.js is there, but to use it I need to import it into my current code, the place where I would like to use it. So that is how it works, right? So what I will do, I will go to calci.js. So currently I'm here. So here I need to import it, right? So what I will do, I will just take import. From where you want to import it, from where? So from the from the current folder. To represent the current folder, you need to place dot, and this is called current folder. So currently we are in the current folder. If you use dot backslash, this is your current folder. So from the current folder, what is the name of your component? It is math.js, right? So I can just say math. So from the math, so from this math, so what are the things that you would like to use it? So add, sub, division, multiplication, these are the methods available. So what are the things that you want to use it, that is something you need to specify. Instead of lightning element over here, mention add, sub, mul, div. So these are the methods which we would like to use from the module which is math. That's great. So now instead of using this, right, so using this logic over here, so what I can do, I can call this add method, right? For this add method I can pass parameters, add, and what parameters you would like to supply. These two things, right? These are the things which you got it within your code. This dot fn, comma, sn. Now let's see if it really works. If it works, our logic is fine, our syntax is fine. So cool. Let me go back. So I'm giving some number. We got output. See the same functionality which we are delegating to the helper function. When I say helper function, the service component, right? So we try to create a service component which is math.js under the same folder, and here we are exporting those functions. So if you don't have export, these are just a function, right? The add is just a function. Only if you export it, you can use it in different modules, right? That's why we are exporting them. So export is not something, a different keyword. It is something like you're telling that we are exporting this specific method so to different modules so that any module can use it. So that is what we are doing. So now I got opportunity to discuss about arrow functions, right? So if you see this way, this is the old traditional way which we have been dealing with JavaScript, right? So I don't want to use the traditional old approach, right? So let's try to leverage our arrow functions so that you will get some clear understanding about how to use arrow functions from now onwards, right? So as I said, right, for arrow functions you have function here. So remove this function, the prefix one before the parameters, remove this function. So remove this and then put your arrow here. So this is your function. Now this arrow represents that function. So same thing, right? For other things also I can apply same thing. So let's see if it works or not. So if it works, we'll see what we can do. So click on add, still it works, right? So what I did, I removed the function. Here I have function, I removed it and placed my arrow, right, arrow symbol after the parameters. So here before the parameter you have function, but here the use case is different. You have to keep your fat arrow after your parameters, right? So same thing I can apply for everything, right? So I can remove the function here, I can use arrow, I can remove the function here, I can use arrow, I can remove the function here, I can use arrow again. So it works for all these scenarios. That's cool. So what else we can do, right? So since you have only one statement, return x plus y, you have only one statement, right? So you don't need these curly braces, open curly and end curly. Even though it still works, it is not necessary to use these curly braces. So I'm taking opportunity to explain that as well. So I'm removing this flower bracket. So and you should not use return statement. So you should not use return statement, remove the return. Still it works. It takes care of return statement, it takes care of flower brackets and all those things. This one still works. So I removed these flower brackets. I removed this return statement. So let's see if it works. And let me give some number. Click on add. It still works, right? So in most of the scenarios you will see this kind of syntax, so you should not get confused the moment you see this kind of syntax. This is pretty common, just like your regular functions, but syntax is changed, that's it. Syntax got changed, right? So if you have only one parameter, right, you can just supply x here. You don't even need to use those brackets. If you have only one parameter, we can remove those things as well. So this ECMAScript advanced kind of functions which you need to use. The same logic I can apply for all my stuff. So for sub, I just need to place x minus y. So that's it. So now you can use this service component within your code, right? So earlier we have a lot of lines of code, right? You can see the difference, right? The lines of code which we have earlier is uh, quite different than what we have now. We removed lot of lines of code, right? That is how the arrow functions works. It takes care of a lot of things. It takes care of this function. There are some things which we need to discuss later. So it takes care of a lot of things. It improves the performance. So this is how you need to use your functions in JavaScript functions within your right, LWC or any modern JavaScript technologies, right? So now your math.js contains these methods which we exported, and in calci I can pretty much use them just like as what we are doing here. So what I can do is this word subtraction. So I just need to place sub here, that's it. So for multiplication, same thing, we are just pausing these things. So it is small, it is due. So simple, right? So now you have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and all these things you are dealing with. You are not dealing logic here, you are actually dealing logic in the service component, which is service JavaScript component, which contains some business logic, right? So since you exported from here, we are able to import here. So in the first line, in the second line, we are able to import them because this math.js actually exported them. We are able to import them. So that is how we can do. So in order to explain these things, right, so other things which are, so find, filter, map, reduce, right? So I would like to take all the outputs, right? If I click on add, subtraction, multiplication, division, I will get some output, right? I would like to capture all those things, and then I would like to apply find, filter, map, and reduce in order to explain how these things will work, right? So that's the intent. So to capture all those things, what I will do here, so basically I will create one array. I can say array of elements, right? So that's cool. So this array, I will push the output whatever I get, right? So that output I will push it to this array, so with the help of push operator. So this currently array, I did not mention anything like this, right? So I don't mention this, so because JavaScript can still convert that into array, right, based on the methods which you use. So if you want, we can still have this array mechanism, we can keep it, so that's okay. All right. So, and then if once I click on add, I would like to push those things, the result of it to the array. That is what the intent. So to push it, I will go to um, add first. So once it works, we will apply these things for other things as well. So I will go to the add. Let me come down. So this dot array. So since it is part of this component, I need to use this operator dot push. Push is the keyword to push the things to the array. This final number, right? So this final number, whatever I calculated, right? So what I will do, console dot log. So let's see whether the array is really capturing the things or not. Hoping that everything will work. So did I put array here? I'm pretty sorry for it. Cool. I would like to take the output of those things and put it in the array. So 2000 and 2000, whatever, it should be 400, 4000 within my array. And cannot read property push. Let me go back and see what exactly the mistake we are doing. This dot a or y array. Did I save it? Let me check what exactly happening here. So we got it. So fine. I did not save it properly. And yeah, initially we got 200 into that array, and then I will supply some other numbers to store those results. So now I got 200 and 1000. I will supply some other numbers, 1000, whatever. So now it contains 200, 1000 and 2, right, 2000. So these are the elements which are sitting in the array which we have created. Right, so we are trying to push them, right? So to make it more clear which one actually we are clicking it, right? So what I will do, so right, so this dot final number, I will initially make it as empty. That's fine. And then what I'm going to do, we have all these things, that's fine. So in addition to this, right, let me create X or whatever the static data. So here I would like to add something. You will get to know why I'm adding it. Addition of two numbers, two numbers is, so whatever. So now I would like to push this X. to the final number. So in the final number you have already data, whatever you have, that's fine, but still addition of two numbers equal to x plus this final number. That's cool. We'll see what is the output of it, and then we'll discuss why we have written this code. So we are getting something like final number, right? So I will remove this final number. I will just put this one. So label I removed it because I added the label within my code itself. So that's cool. Right, you got addition of two numbers is 1000, right? We made it dynamic, and that's why I brought this concept. So yeah, so addition of two numbers, and this thing I'm appending to the final number directly so that you will get the string as well as your integer stuff, whatever you have, those things we are trying to display. So concept applies same to both. I mean, for subtraction, multiplication, I can just copy this piece of code and apply it. Only thing which I need to change is this method and this one, instead of using addition of two numbers. So for me, I think it makes sense if I keep like addition of two numbers, which is 500 and 500 is 1000, right? If I bring that over here, addition of two numbers open, right, within the brackets mentioning this is 500, first number is 500 and second number is 500. So to do that, so we can use, so this backtick, already we are using this backtick, right? So what I can do is, so just like what we did in the initial classes, right? So I can use dollar symbol, this not fn, right? So this dot fn, they should be in float brackets, and that's why it's not detecting. On this dot sn, so it makes sense, right? So let me go back and see whether it will show exactly what we are looking for. So 3000 and 3000 is something which we are giving, and let me click on it. So addition of two numbers 3000 and 3000 is 600. So we call this as string literals. In the string literals we are dynamically adding these things, and it will replace these things, like, right, if you remember in C language, percentage d, percentage some other things, whatever, percentage c, whatever it is. So just like that, we are basically replacing these things over here, right? So string literals is quite common concept in any technology that you take, right? So this one will be replaced with dynamic content, right? That's cool, right? If it works to the add, so I can take this, the same stuff, and quickly do it for the other things. I don't take much time over here because we have pretty much prepared code. Sum of two numbers, and I also need to change this function. I also need to change this function. Cool. I think everything should be fine. Let me go back. Let me give some 5,000 and click on subtraction of two numbers. It is dynamic, right? So anything 10,000 and 10, so whatever, I will try to multiply it. So I got the result, multiplication result as well. So this is initially what we supplied it to this dot array, so it carries all the information. And for division I got something, whatever, subtraction I got something. So all these things are working, right? So add, subtraction, multiplication, division are working, and we made it more dynamic. So now my expectation is to get through the map, find and filter and whatever, right? Since we got some output here, right, we are getting some array. On top of that array we can use our map, filter, find and reduce kind of thing, so that in one place you have all the essential things, right? So for that reason I will go back to the code, right? So what are those things we have? Find, filter, map, reduce. So I need these functions within my code. Find, filter, map and reduce. Okay, since we use them most of the time, I'm bringing these concepts here, so it will get familiar if you walk through this example again and again, right? So now I'm using find, right? So for that we have the array already, right? We already collected the array, right? So since we have array in our handy, so what we can do, let me put the console first whether we are getting the array or not. So this dot array into the find, we'll get to know what exactly we have. So basically find, what it will do, let's say you have some numbers, assuming that I will give 100, so add, so you got, so let me refresh it to clearly explain. 100, you got 200, that's great. And 300, you got 400, that's great. And 400, so you have 700, you have 50, 10. So now you have array which contains 200, 400, 760. Now what I want is, I want the element which is greater than 200, right? I want the element which is greater than 200. So that is what my expectation, right? So how many elements are there out of this 400 and 700? There are two elements, right? So which are greater than uh, 200, right? But when you use find operator, you will only get the first element, which matches the criteria, and it will not traverse the complete array. It will first try to look into the exact matching. If it matches, it will bring that out of it, so it won't traverse the complete array. Let's say you have 100 elements in the array, it won't traverse the 100 elements. If it finds the element which matches it in the first place itself, it won't go to the rest of the things, right? So that is how it works. So it drastically improves the performance. Sometimes you might need these kind of scenarios, right? So uh, right, to implement the find, right, the syntax is this. Since you have this dot array, right, so what I can do is, first I will check whether this dot array is containing some data or not. For that I will use if this dot array simply checks that whether it contains data or not. So we don't need to write, you don't need to check the length or whether it is empty or kind of things. It will check. This is enough for it. So in JavaScript. So to get right, so what I need to do to apply the find method, there's just a name here. Don't worry about this find method. The actual find comes here. So for that, so what I need to do, so I need to take this dot array, this dot array dot find. Your elements, your array dot find is what you need to place. So this is basically a function, right? So within this function I will create anonymous function, so which you usually see in your codes, right? So instead of creating a function right, in another place and calling it, so in general, if you see W3 examples or whatever the examples, you will have some xyz function. This xyz function you will have outside of it. So this function xyz, this one takes some input, whatever. So here you will calculate and pass it back. So this is basically a different function altogether. Anonymous function is, so directly you will be writing your function there itself, then and there you will be writing your function. You don't need separate function altogether. So anonymous, there won't be any name for the function, that is called anonymous. Anonymous functions are the functions where there is no name for it at all. So for that reason, what I will do, I will just put a result, which is your parameter. So from the array, this dot array dot find, whatever the element, first element, second element, all those elements will come into this result. And then I'm using arrow symbol as it is a function. Result greater than 200. Result greater than 200. So this is just a function again, guys, don't get confused. This is just a function, but we are using fat arrow. We are using fat arrow in order to simplify the things, right? So now so I would like to add the output of this function, this things, to one of the elements. I can say so element, so this is my element. So or else whatever. So I just clicked it. So now I would like to check what exactly it is. Is this array or a single digit? What exactly it is, right? So those things, in order to check that, I will use console.log quickly. We'll see what is there in the element now. From find function. That's cool. If it works, we will go with the other things as well. It's kind of copy pasting the stuff. So I would like to check the type of this element. So what exactly it is. So type of is nothing but what exactly it is, whether it is array, whether it is what kind of data type it is. So for that we use type of regularly. So let's see if it works, so that we can apply the same thing. So 200 I apply, I added it, so now we got 400 in the element. So whatever. So let me give some lesser number. Add, I will give 10 and 10. I added it. So in your array you got some elements now, right? 4300, 510 and 20, right? If I click on find, I should get only one element. That is how the find works. Let me click on it. See, so element from the find function is 4000. So even though you have multiple things in the array, it only matches the first one. The moment it matches the thing, it just takes it and gives you as output. So it saves your time, it improves the performance as well. So that is how the find function works. And if you check the type of, it is just a number, it is not array. This element which you got, so this is just a number, so this element is a number now, right? So let's see same thing for the filter, right? These two are little confusing stuff, right? So let's see same thing for the filter. So you don't need to learn separately. If you learn, if you are flexible with it, you can just take this piece of code and copy it here. So just type like filter is a function, JavaScript function, right? So instead of it, i will fil- I will put filter. Okay, cool. So filter function, now we are in filter function now. So if it is greater than 200, I need those things, all the elements. That is what the expectation. So we are using filter as well. So let me go back if everything is fine. So maybe quickly I will give the results. So everything is getting added to your array. So fine. Let me give the very quite lesser number. So now your array contains all these elements, right? So now I'm going to use filter method. The moment I click on filter, I should be able to get the things which matches overall, not just the first element, right? That is how we have written code. If everything is fine, I should get that. See, so element from the filter function is it brings 400, it brings 700, it brings 500. So filter function brings all the elements which matches to that criteria. It's not just first element, it will traverse the complete stuff and gets all the things which matches the criteria, right? So that is how filter function works. And if you see the type of, right, this is basically object means it contains array of elements where you have series of elements, right? You have series of elements in it here. This is basically object. Initially, if I click on find, right, so this is basically a number. It is just a number, it's not the object, right? That is a major difference between find and filter. So to apply same thing for the map, right? So to apply same thing, I can just copy paste the code. You don't need to so spend much time on it. Same code. So all I need is I need map. The primary purpose of map is you will enter some data into that map and you will get written back some elements from that map. So right, you will be calculating something, you will be performing some discount on the given stuff, whatever, right? Map is something you will enter some elements into that and you will return back, you will get something written back from it. Say for example, I would like to divide it by 10. So whatever, divide it by 10, or else I would like to multiply it with 10. So whatever the data that you enter, it multiplies that data and it takes the series of elements and keeps that in the element. So you will actually enter some data into that function and you will get some data back from that function. That is how it works. So that is for map, right? So let me go back and check that, and then I will go to the reduce, which is a little different stuff. So I gave 10 and 10, whatever, 200, and 20 and 20, whatever. Again, I'm clicking on it again, 30 and 30, whatever. So that's cool. So these are the elements you have. Now you are going to supply these elements into the map, and map will do some business logic and return back the response, the calculated response, exactly the same number of elements you will be getting back to your actual map stuff. So these kind of things comes into the picture. Map comes into the picture. Let's say you are getting some data in the contact or account object, and you want to frame a different kind of right array, or if you want to frame different kind of object based on the data which you got, so that that object you will use it in different locations. You can frame your own set of right defined structure with the help of map, right? So currently you have 20, 40, and 60. Let me click on sorry, so let me click on map. See map. Now I got some elements. I entered these are the elements into the map, and I got the response like this: 200, 400, 600, 900. And again it is a array, right? It is an array. You can define your own structure with the help of map. You are entering something into that and define your own structure and get back the results back to it. So when you look into the actual codes, right, you will get to know more about it. So by now you should be able to understand. So you are supplying some data into the map, and that map return back some data back to you, like same the same number of array elements whatever you have. So that is how it works. So this is about map. This is about map, right? So coming to the reduce, the basic functionality of reduce function in JavaScript is, right, so you will be supplying some input parameters to your map, to the reduce function, just like this, and based on that it will return only one single element. So it will return only one single element after calculating all those things. So let's say addition of all these numbers, right? So addition of all these numbers is what I would like to do. So let me go back and show the example so that you will get clear understanding about it. So I can take the same piece of code, so I can apply it. So instead of using map here, I need to use reduce. As I said, it is little different. I need to have two different parameters. One is to calculate the total stuff, and other one is the element which is entering into the reduce function. So to carry the element, just like this, the result or whatever it is. So I can say result, whatever you can name it. As I said, if we have two parameters, right, you have two parameters, so you need to use this notation. If there is a single parameter, we can avoid it, but there are two parameters, you need to use this notation. These are the function parameters which you are supplying into this, and here, so total plus result. So total is what something is calculating each and every element which you are entering, and this with the help of plus operator you are element. So you are basically constructing your total. So that is how you are doing. So reduce actually looks for, right, so reduce actually looks for a single output. So based on data which you supply into that, you will get only reduced number of elements, which is single element. This is reduce, and yeah, we'll see how it works. So without taking much time, let's do it quickly. Add again, I will add it again, I will add it, I will add it, I will add it, I will add it. So now you have six elements in the array. So if I click on reduce, it has to calculate all the elements whatever you supplied and reduce it to a single element. So that is what the expectation. Click on it. See, I got 1200. So 200 into 6 is 1200, right? So that is how the reduce function works. So these are the major functions which you regularly see that in your LWC, and that's why I brought this into the picture. So you have other things as well, but these are the things which I observed mostly. So I think this piece of code will really help you to understand the arrow functions. It will really help you to understand these find, filter, map, reduce, how to apply all those things, right? So this is how it works. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, guys. So
This conference will now be recorded.
yes, guys, Thanks for listening. That's it in this class regarding integrating with Salesforce and getting the data. So we'll discuss in the next session. So not only integration, since we are in local host, we have to integrate Salesforce and get the data. So only then you will be able to access the data of Salesforce because you are outside of Salesforce, right? So and also we are going to discuss about how to access the data within Salesforce itself with the help of Lightning Data Service, with the help of Apex classes, with the help of UI record APIs, kind of things. So all those things we are going to discuss in the next session. So tomorrow, next session is dedicated for the data part. So this session is dedicated for the JavaScript stuff to understand how the JavaScript functions work, how the service components works, like math.js. So right, so all these things we group together in a single piece of code and try to explain. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day. Bye bye.